Starting off, the Mission Impossible franchise is just such a cool franchise. I mean, what other film franchise has Tom Cruise hanging on the side of a plane while it takes off? I mean, these movies have been contributing so much to the film industry, and the fact that it's going to be over now most likely is honestly kind of sad. I don't know if we're going to have anything like this in a long time with this level of practical filmmaking, but we'll see. Never know. Now, going on to the plot of this movie is the entity has taken over the world or is trying to take over the world, and it's getting access to all the nuclear, basically everyone's nukes, and its plan is to nuke everyone. And it's up to, Ethan Hunt, who is set up in this movie to be a superhero, and this entire movie 24/7. They just glaze him every single second, as he is the most perfect human ever and never messes up and is just perfect. Which that got really, 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 really tiring after a while. And Gabriel got disavowed by the entity because he failed in the previous movie. And so Ethan Hunt wants to kill the entity, and he's given a chance, so he has to get the Podkova, which is the original source code from the submarine that it was originally on that we saw in Dead Reckoning. He has to get that, and then Luther made a thing called a poison pill, which when you put in the Podkova, it'll make the entity leave the Podkova, and then Grace needs to do a little switcheroo thing so that they can trap the entity in a little genie bottle. I feel like the stakes are just too high, because we, the audience, know that the Mission Impossible franchise is not going to end with the entire world blowing up. So at the end of the day, we know that it's not like they are gonna do it. It's just a matter of how are they gonna do it is really the question that we have. I was actually kind of surprised because at the end, they actually kind of made it seem that Ethan Hunt dies, and I was like, wow, you know what? I'm proud of them. They took a big risk. This is actually the final one, but no, he's fine. His parachute caught on fire, but he had another one. I really wish that they killed Ethan Hunt. I'm going to be honest. I think that would have been a shocking for a lot of people and would have really concluded his journey, his arc with saving the world. But he has to sacrifice his own. I thought that would have been perfect. But they didn't do that. Nope. Ethan Hunt is perfect. And apparently Tom Cruise too. I kind of felt didn't we already have this plot in the fourth one? There's that Russian guy that wanted to send off nukes and cause World War III. I guess with this one, it's the entity just wanted to destroy the world. But I felt like the whole time I was like, didn't we kind of already have this plot with nukes in the fourth one? But the Ghost Protocol was a little more tongue-in-cheek. This one was just like, oh my goodness, everyone's gonna die kind of thing. This movie is overall good. I do really like it, but that first hour is just pretty slow, and it's just all an info dump and just exposition, just setting everything up, and it can get kind of boring after a while because it's just scene after scene after scene. They're just explaining things, and it's kind of like, okay, when are we gonna actually start getting on with the movie? But it is important that they set everything up in order to raise the stakes for this movie. But I feel like it could have just been done in a better way. I don't know what they could have done necessarily, but sometimes it was just so boring and just like, let's move on to the next scene, please. But once you get through that, the last hour and a half, 2 hours is really good. Right around the submarine sequence is when everything picks up, and boy oh boy, that submarine sequence was phenomenal and super well done, and that whole time it had me on the edge of my seat. Just everything down to the eerie music, the aesthetics, it just made you feel claustrophobic. It was just so good. And another thing too is just It was just one thing after another, just one wrong thing after another. And it just really keeps you on the edge of your seat. And it was super good. And in my opinion, the plane sequence at the end is Tom Cruise's best stunt. Because just think about yourself on a plane like that, and it going full speed and doing flips and barrel rolls and turns, and you holding on. Like, there's no way that I would be able to do that. Like, it's just insane that this 6-year-old something dude is able to do this. It was just so insane. But one of the big problems I had with this movie is the villains. There are 2 villains in this movie: the Entity, which was set up in the previous film, Dead Reckoning, and then Gabriel. But Gabriel this time, he's like barely even in it, because before he was the Entity's like face, like he was the Entity kind of thing, like he embodied the Entity and he worked for the Entity, but he was just barely in it. And the Entity, I don't know, it just doesn't, the Entity didn't feel like a threat to me. Like, it kept threatening to do stuff, quote unquote, like nuke the entire world, but it never does it. It just, I know it needs to like gain control of all the nukes, but I feel like it could have done something. Like, throughout this entire movie, I don't think it does like a single thing except just kind of exist. And so there's really just not much of a villain in it. It's kind of like they're not in it that much. And this film can kind of treat you like an 8-year-old that grew up being taught by an iPad. Like, I remember one scene especially where it's Ethan Hunt and he sees Gabriel, and they just spent like a 10-minute scene explaining how they need to give Gabriel the Podkova so that they can activate or to control the Entity, and then Grace would do the little switch blink of an eye thing. And when Tom Cruise sees Gabriel, they cut to that little, I don't even know what it's called. It's on a flashback, but what would happen, the shot of Gabriel putting the pill in the Podkova. And it's like, we already saw that. We know that Gabriel needs to do that for this to work. We don't need that cut. And there were just sometimes like that where it just treats you like an 8-year-old with no attention span, which was kind of annoying. And the team in this was all right. I would say that the best crew for Mission Impossible, in my opinion, is Rogue Nation. I mean, we had Ilsa, Benji, Luther, William. I mean, that cast was just so goated. And this team, I don't know, it was just the fact that one of the guys was the person from the first movie and was in the vault, like the guy who was the head vault guy. That's just such a random pull. I don't know. And this movie just kind of is trying just to nostalgia trip a lot of people. Like, having that one guy be John Phelps' son, it's like, really? Did you really need to do that? There's just, for the very last movie, you have to randomly set that up. I don't know. It was kind of random. But, yeah, the crew overall was all right. And Paris came back. She doesn't even like talk. She's just, I don't know. She's just kind of there, I feel like. And it's kind of funny too how in this movie they basically like talk about all the previous movies except for the second one. Like, I feel like the Mission Impossible community as a whole, I just kind of like disavowed the second one, just completely ignored it. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, they mentioned literally every other movie except the second one. The music in this movie is really good. I thought it was good. But, man, do I miss Lauren Baffle on this one. He just had that iconic, not iconic maybe, but just a very distinct sound to him with those dramatic and just pounding bongos. I think this track did have some bongos, but man, like with Dead Reckoning and Fallout, those bongos are so cool. I love the sound of bongos. I don't know, I kind of missed it with this one. But overall, the movie did really have me engaged the entire time, and it was worth it, especially with that submarine sequence and the plane sequence, because like I said, that plane stunt is, in my opinion, Tom Cruise's best stunt that he's ever done. And just seeing that was insane that he actually did that. At the end, I'm kind of confused with the end, because wasn't Ethan supposed to, his whole thing was, I'm going to kill the entity. But at the end, it's kind of just in that little bottle thing, and they don't do anything with it. So it's just kind of there now. So is it that Ethan Hunt is the only person on planet Earth that's able to control the entity? Because if that's the case, that's just so stupid. Like, he should have killed it. They set that up with Dead Reckoning and with this one, and now he just doesn't do it. I don't know. I'm kind of confused about the ending. If you guys could let me know what the ending is, that would be appreciated. But something that I am happy about, they finally explained what the rabbit's foot is. Oh my goodness. The third Mission Impossible, is such a good movie, highly underrated, probably in my top 3 Mission Impossible movies. And they actually explained what it is, and I really like that, because, you know, J.J. Abrams is known for just leaving people questioning, never answering the questions, but whatever. It was messy, but I still loved it, and it still gave me what I want from a Mission Impossible movie. It had insane stunts, it had high stakes, it had good humor, great action. It was tense. Like, there were some scenes where I was on the edge of my seat. So it was a good movie. Is it the best Mission Impossible? No. Fallout is. Definitely. Fallout by far. But it really is a good send-off to the franchise. I just wish that it was a little tighter in some places, especially in the beginning, with all that exposition. But it was well done. And so I would give this movie a 8.8 out of 10. 8.8. And yeah, so thank you for watching my second episode for going through the summer blockbusters, and I'll see you in the next episode.